on it.
So, hello all. Now it says we're live. Welcome to the Ask Your Mentor Anything new series. We start like now after the summer vacations, and I have a great friend and colleague. You most probably all of you know from BP conference, Csaba Bán from Hungary. Hello, Csaba. Welcome. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Thank you, Virginia, for having me and for the invitation. And hello, everyone who is listening and watching.
Yeah, so there will be coming people. So for those that are joining us live, I would suggest you to use the comments below. Click the StreamYard link you will find above this video. And if you are watching the recording, you can always comment below the same video because Csaba will see your comments. So I see people coming. Please do let us know if you can hear us, watch as well, if the sound is okay, the picture is okay. And today we have a great story behind of that because I know that many of you love BP conferences. And there is a great story behind of that because Csaba is one of us. He's a translator himself and pioneer in my at least opinion because he was the first translator creating such a conference, and it's a one-man show. That's huge. We usually start by if you would like to say a few words about you and your background, Csaba, and then I will start with the questions of the mentees.
All right. Okay. Background. I mean, probably you mean educational background.
Or as a translator, like what is your niche, how many years you're in the business, things like that.
Okay. I've been in the business now, I can say, most of my life, because I'm 51 now. And I've the very first paid, actually I started out with interpreting first. And that was still during university, I think in 91 or 92. So it's like the better half of my better part of my life. So actually, I studied business administration and economics in university, and I know that was early 90s. And at that time, Hungary was opening up to foreign investors, and there was a huge need for interpreters who spoke English at a high level and understood some of the business terms. So there was a huge demand, and in addition to professional and established translators and interpreters, there was a growing demand to bring in students who were in the higher years of education and who already had a high-level state-approved English exam, and I had that. So that's how it all started. So I started interpreting at corporate training events and banks, and that was really the first few occasions, like an in-house position. No, it was not a position. It was all freelance. Like I did that during the summer, or maybe there was one day at university when there was like a less number of classes. Then I did like one morning in a bank and whatever. So that's how it all started.
That's nice. So I see some people commenting. In order to be able to see your name and reply to you, please click above this video the link StreamYard that says in order to see your name. Csaba, you most probably will see the comments there in your screen.
Okay.
So I recommend you, if you have any questions for Csaba today, comment below this video. We will see your comments. And
okay. Just one technical thing. I can see a private chat tab and the comments tab. I think
the private is between us,
right?
Okay, the comments, and says Facebook user because someone commented but hasn't clicked yet the link in order to give us permission to show their name in the live. Okay, so that's interesting story. I didn't know about interpreting and your background. I knew that you had some business education background, and so is also from now being a business owner and as an organized conference organizer and host, I mean. So thank you for sharing that. So I'll share how we met because that's something usually I do because most, if not all of the speakers that I have as guests here are friends of mine or somehow we've met in person. So I've written about that in an article many times about how BP conference was one of the first the first one I attended abroad. My first international conference going abroad was in Zagreb 2015. Then I met Csaba as a host there. And then I went to many other conferences, BP conference, and then we had the chance to meet again. And then Csaba was here in Greece, so we met. So this is how people get to know each other. And then there are so many other.
It's frozen.
Yeah, you're frozen, but the sound is great. I can still hear you. Okay, might be any technical issue, but Csaba, if you can hear me, do not change anything because the recording will be fine. Okay, so most probably there is a connection issue. Now? Okay, there was a connection issue from your part, I guess, so it's okay, that's a technical problem, but don't worry because the recording will be fine. Okay, it skips that issue, so don't worry about that. So for those joining us live, there will be recording, and now we are live also on YouTube, Facebook public page under my name, and also in the Mentoring for Translators group, and I see most of you are from the Mentoring for Translators group. Also, there will be the recording for those that might not be able to attend this live, but I think it's a great story to watch it anytime and find out how Csaba changed his career and combines now. I assume, Csaba, you still translate now, I know. Is that correct?
Less and less.
Okay,
it's hardly, in the last 2 or 3 years, I started doing much less translation work than before. So when I started out with the conferences now 6 years ago. So this first BP conference took place in 2014. And during the first, I would say, 3 years, I was still really a full-time translator. I did many jobs. Like I remember at one occasion, I can't remember which one of the first BP conferences, like a month before the conference in March, I did 3 large jobs, each of them 15,000 words.
Amazing.
Plus the conference coming up.
Amazing.
I don't know. I don't know, but that was several years ago. And I would say about 3 years ago, my workload started to drop, partly because organizing conferences, because I didn't pursue any new clients. So whatever I received from existing clients, I did that. And even if one of the, or not one, but a couple of existing clients started to send me less and less work for whatever reason, I didn't pursue, I didn't want to, I didn't have time actually to look for new clients. And this year, it's the total changeover, like with the events, with this COVID thing. Yes.
And you did everything online? And you
I had to do the conference online. Which in March and April, it meant that I couldn't do any other thing.
You were the first one, I think, that you sent everything online. You were the first one.
I had to reject many requests, even from existing clients. So I think after a while, they start to realize that I'm not their best resource or talent or whatever they say.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because if you do not pursue jobs or clients, this somehow is not that, if we can say, the workflow is not that often the projects we get. So it definitely depends on the efforts that we put in marketing and going after clients and projects. So definitely, I see your point there. And you were the first one of the conference organizers that you turned everything so fast, so quickly online. I was a speaker back then. Thank you for this opportunity. So I saw you doing that, and it was a great success. And I know that we're going to talk about that, but this is a great opportunity. Why not to mention that now, that next week we have the celebration of the Translation Day. It's September 13th, and you have organized, and you are going to host a great event. And I think, again, you are the only one. I know that some other also associations, they're doing some things, but not an official event. And yours is 30 hours. So for those that you haven't yet find out, you will see the link below this video shared with you. And also you can register. It's a free event, 30 hours. So please say a few things if you want about this event.
Yes. So I know that in the past years, there have been some associations and companies who did some kind of a live event or even virtual event exactly on the 30th of September. And also there have been many actual physical conferences that schedule their annual events around this date. And it's been it's become quite a busy conference period for translators for this reason, for the commemoration of Saint Jerome, who has been probably the most famous, single most famous translator 1600 years ago. Anyway, so for this year I had this crazy idea 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was actually less than 3 weeks ago, that I should be doing something, as BP conferences should be doing some kind of an online event, but I didn't have any idea what format would be the best. And before going into too much detail with brainstorming about the possible format, I checked online if there is anything planned already. And I spent a couple of hours Googling possible associations or like large well-known companies, if they are doing anything exactly on that date. And I noticed that I couldn't find any. I could find events that are taking place right now, like TLC in or that's supposed to be in Warsaw. They were also online, yes, and also next week. So there are, like, normally they are scheduled around the weekends, but since this year 30th of September takes place on a Wednesday, like total middle of the week, I couldn't find anything. So I said, yes, I'm going to take this opportunity and do something. And I thought, okay, if it's 30th of September, why not do something really wild? 30 hours.
Wow,
like
30 hours of free event.
Yeah, it's like a full day. Sometimes we translators know that if there's a huge, like a deadline is looming, we have to work long hours. Sometimes even it feels like we are doing more than one day in a single day.
I have a question about this event. Will be they recorded? Will be the workshops live? How is it the structure?
Well, most probably they will be recorded. I mean, everything will take place in Zoom. And in Zoom, it's just a click of a button, or actually it's one easy setting, that everything will be recorded. So probably it will be recorded, but then again, it takes some time and some editing to put everything online after that. And I also still need to agree with the speakers if they are okay with this. So I mean, there are still 4 days, so plenty of time.
Okay.
That was sarcastic, of course.
I have some deadlines myself, so I totally get you. I don't know if I'm going to achieve my deadline.
I thought about this, and it would be a shame not to record.
My question mainly was like, all of these 30 hours are going to be live there. Presenters, they are going to be live during that day. So you have booked 30 hours of presentations, 30 speakers.
Well, almost. So it's 30 hours of conferencing, but not 30 hours of presentations back to back. So the day will be divided into 15 blocks, so 15 2-hour blocks. And in each of these 2-hour blocks, we will have 3, in some cases 4 very short presentations. So one presentation will be 12 minutes each.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, somewhere.
Very short one.
Yeah, very short.
To allow more and more people to join in, and for the speakers, of course, to allow more and more speakers. Plus, another reason for the very short presentation format is because speakers only have very short amount of time to get prepared, because the whole concept is very new.
Yeah, that's very new. Something that you came up like the last minute again. And yeah, you're full of ideas, I know.
Yeah, but idea is one thing. The execution of the idea is totally different. But I'm lucky enough. I feel extremely lucky that I just had this idea, and after 2 weeks, we have already like about 70 or 80 presentations online, and there may be about 10 more in the coming days.
So that you would like to celebrate that day with 30 hours of conferencing, as Csaba said, you can click the link below this video, register now. It's a free event. Okay, you get access to 30 hours and so many speakers and short presentations. And I assume that Csaba will have more surprises for you that day that might not be able to disclose right now, but stay tuned.
Yes. And there is one very important, unique feature of this event, that it's not all in English. So,
that's interesting. First time, yeah.
There is one, or there will be one English track that will be this, what I called very imaginatively the main room, and there will be also a lobby where, as you would imagine, if you're in a conference setting, some of the most interesting conversations take place not in the meeting rooms, but in the lobby where people have coffee, or in the afternoon they have a glass of wine and then they chat, whatever. So there will be the main room with the presentations. There will be the lobby. There will be no set agenda, and there will be another room where actually two other rooms where there will be presentations in languages other than English.
Which are?
And so far we have 8 different languages outside English. So that means that each of these 2-hour blocks will be dedicated to a specific language. Like we will have Ukrainian, Russian, Macedonian, French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and German.
Amazing, amazing. International.
So 3 Slavic, 1 German, and 4 Neo-Latin languages. Yeah. So 8 European languages. And I really hope that this is only the start. This is a start. And for next year, we'll have much more time to get prepared, and it will be properly done. And I really hope that there will be like language-specific rooms in many more languages.
Many more languages, Greek as well. Next year you have
Greek or in Arabic or in whatever.
Do you want to talk about a bit about the idea you have with Olga Yetsmik? Because something we didn't discuss earlier, but just came down to my mind. You would like to say a few words about this idea?
Yes. Now that everything, we are forced to do all the events online. And back in the spring, when I was forced to move the regular annual event online, I thought this would be a one-off occasion, and next year we can do the regular physical conference as originally planned. But as the months have passed and we arrived into summer, it became clear that this is probably not the case, and we will be forced to keep events online until I don't know how long. So it's
for how long do you think? What is your estimation for how long?
I mean, nobody knows. I mean, I have no idea. The best I can do is to adapt to the situation. As long as we cannot meet in physical reality, we have to meet online. And I'd like to make the best out of this. And I was coming up with some ideas how to keep it interesting, because what we had in April on BP20, it was something totally new.
Totally.
For many people.
Yeah, you were the first one.
Not for many people, for everybody, it was totally new.
Exactly.
And I thought if I want to keep it interesting, keep online events interesting, they should be a little bit different. Each time it's a little bit different. So the first idea that came, I think back in May, so just about a month after BP20, it was that I would like to do a similar format, but not in English, but in other languages. And actually, I posted about this or sent out in the newsletter that I'm open to do a similar conference, similar format, but not in English, but in some other languages. And then a few weeks later, I received this email from Olga, from one of the speakers, who was also
we were just chatting. Hello, Olga, if you are watching us. Olga Yetsmik.
Yes, and she was also a presenter or speaker last year in Bologna. And maybe she was an attendee before that. I can't remember that. Anyway,
we were planning to come together as combined in the next one, but
yes,
let's see.
And anyway, so she sent this email to me that inspired by my openness to organize something in a language other than English. She proposed, why not do it in Spanish?
Great.
Because, well, she was born in Poland, but she was basically raised in Barcelona in Spain.
Exactly.
And she considers that her main mother tongue. And after exchanging a few emails, I said, okay, let's do it. Why not? Let's launch it with something.
The dates, is there any link? We will share the link. Is it online yet?
Well, it will take, so there will be a Spanish translation conference, Conferencia de Traducción en Línea, in the first days of December.
Okay.
So there's, if you look at the main conference page, you can find the links. So bpconf.com, and you will find it easily there. So far it's a concept, and we are accepting applications from speakers. And
the preparation stage right
so
now.
The format, basically it will follow the same format as in BP20, probably not 4 afternoons, only 3 afternoons, but it will be very similar.
Okay, for Spanish speakers, it will be for Spanish speakers.
Yeah, Spanish speakers, yes.
Oh,
so
many new projects for you, Csaba, yes?
Yes. I know, well, I don't really speak Spanish. I understand Spanish, but I wouldn't be able to hold a conversation for very long, apart from ordering a beer in the bar.
Okay, that's amazing. New idea projects. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, but the thing is, it's the most difficult part of organizing a conference is setting up the framework, setting up the format, all the technical parts that are not visible to the attendee.
Yeah, definitely. Especially now with the online.
Once you have the framework, it's easier to fill it with content, and Olga will help me with that.
Okay, before we get into that, how you became a conference organizer and the story behind that, let's very quickly answer a few questions for you, like how did you start out? You just told us. If you remember, how did you get your first client? It's a very common question I get from my mentees. Do you remember?
Okay. Of course, yes, I do remember, and it's quite a story.
Okay.
Well, after working in-house for about 5 years, I took 2 years off, but that's a different story. And when I really started freelancing, it was in the autumn of year 2000. And I didn't have any idea how to do it. The only thing I knew that, well, there's this new thing, internet. And if there's internet, maybe I can find clients outside my own country, which is Hungary. Until that, I was only working only for one particular agency in Budapest, the largest one, but it was local.
Okay.
And I wanted to, I really wanted to explore new avenues and new opportunities outside Hungary. And I was doing all kinds of searches. I'm not even sure if I used Google at that time. The main search engine at that time was Alta Vista, so Google was just coming up. And I remember it took me like a month, at least, before I found anything really useful. And then after a month, I found this website that just started out, actually a year before that, Proscom. Many of you are familiar with that. And I set up a profile. I was one of the first ones in Hungary to set up a profile, and that gave me a huge advantage on the international market. I started answering kudos questions, and I realized I can move up the ladder very quickly, and this is what I did. So I became the most visible Hungarian translator for about 1 or 2 years when it was still new.
Okay.
And most importantly, when I started prospecting clients outside Hungary, but it wasn't that easy.
But it was about agencies, so you were prospecting or you were targeting agencies through
any kind of clients, but it's mostly agencies that advertise or that are looking for translations on pros. So it was agency.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. So your first client was an agency, you remember that?
Yes, it was, and it was something to remember, because
Right.
it was because it was about $1,000. I remember it was $1,000. I worked on it for about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. What it was some corporate. I don't know what it was. What I remember is that I was working on that project for just over 2 weeks, and then I sent out the invoice, and nothing happened. Really, nothing.
That's a great story to share for
And
those
well, I didn't get paid. And at that time there was no blue board on PROS. There was no payment practices list or whatever. But it took me about a month to realize that the company just went bankrupt while I was.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, for those that are starting out, how did you deal with that?
Still lost. I mean, that was 20 years ago exactly. And but the moral of the story, that it did not stop me from searching elsewhere, because I knew that I want to make a living as a translator, because I knew I was good. The only problem was that the clients out there, potential clients, did not know that I existed, so I had to bridge this gap. And the second client, that was a company from Milan in Italy, and that story also didn't end very well, but actually there I received 50%.
Okay, this was an agency again, do you remember, or it was again a direct client? Do you remember?
I think it was a direct client, and it was a quite irregular type of job.
Okay.
I had to work on their own website. It was way before online CAT tool, so it was not a CAT tool, but I had to enter the strings. It was like product descriptions. Okay. I had to enter it into their own website, and it eventually they didn't want to pay because their project didn't turn out well. But there was luckily enough, the translators into various different languages, we contacted each other by email, and we actually ended up getting 50% of what we were promised. And then that was the second time I was not really properly paid. And after that, the first real paying client came from with an address in Caracas in Venezuela.
Wow.
And it seemed a little bit weird, because the company owner, I managed to find him on the internet, and he was registered in Miami, but the address, the invoicing address was in Caracas, and I actually sent him an email that, listen, I already burned myself twice. I don't want to do it again. And this was a huge project, 55,000 words, and it promised to be very lucrative. And what happened is really great. He sent me references of translators working for him.
Amazing. It wasn't a direct client, Csaba, do you remember, or it was an agent?
This one was a direct client, yes.
Okay.
And he sent, after expressing my doubts, he sent me names and addresses of 3 or 4 translators who are working for him. And I contacted each of these, and they replied that yes, he is reliable or whatever. And I did the project. I was paid, and that particular client became a steady client for many years.
This is great stories that you shared. If you missed the live, you can definitely watch again the replay and the recording. Just Csaba mentioned 3 great stories, different, and how you could have deal with those, because that's the main concern of the mentees or people they're starting out, how they're going to get their money, it is too risky, and how they can reassure their payments. So one way that Csaba just described is that you can gather with other translators that you're working for a specific client, and you can gather your forces against the client and required to be paid from them. And of course, another solution that Csaba found was to ask, or the client found that, is to give to the translator references from other translators they have worked for that client. And if you want my advice, since I started working for direct clients, I always ask for 50% prepayment. And if they do not agree, that's fine for me. I don't accept to have the risk if I'm going to get paid or not from that specific client. And also always recommend to have the invoicing details with the codes written and agreement signed from that client. you never know what might happen in the future. We always risk, but the great, if we can say, outcome of those stories that Csaba just said is that you still continue pursuing your dreams. Those are not reasons for you to keep you back from still pursuing your dreams, what you are passionate about, if it's translation or whatever is your profession. Go after it, even if Csaba had it twice. And not just one story to share of a bad experience, we can say, by working both, like one with agency and the other with their clients. So you never know what might happen. It's risky, yes, but there are ways that you can reassure. Nowadays, we definitely have the payment practices website. We have the pros blue board. Check out about the credibility and the reliability of the client. And also there is some Facebook groups that you can also ask for recommendations for specific, at least agencies in our profession, if not their clients. So do you remember, Csaba, what was the moment where you managed to scale up as a translator? By scaling up, I mean the moment that you felt freedom from your income that you earned, that you achieved the financial goal that you had in your mind?
I think it took me about a year and a half or 2 years after these initial difficulties. It took, within 2 years, I can say that I was an established translator with like at least a dozen steady clients, all from abroad. So after that, I never worked for any local companies in Hungary, because I realized that there's a market out there, and actually I got paid about 3 times as much.
Exactly.
So after that time, I never worked for any. So in the last 19 years, I didn't work for any local company.
Not direct clients, Csaba? Maybe Hungarian direct clients, they were able to pay those rates, no?
Yes, actually, I'm sorry, I was lying, because in the last year, there was one. That is not true. Yes. So in the last few years, I haven't worked for any local agencies.
Okay.
Yes, local direct clients, yes.
Me, I do the same. Yeah, I don't work for local agencies, but I do work for their clients, because their clients are able to pay the rates that I ask for. Okay.
Yes, and I remember some years ago, I was already doing the conferences, and I received this request from one potential direct client from a law firm around the 10th of December or something like this. Okay. So we were already getting ready for Christmas, and I was busy with the BP conference, because usually I need to set up the sales in December, so that when January comes, it's all in place. So I was already quite busy and not expecting to work, like really doing translation work until Christmas. And then I received this request from this law firm around the 8th or 10th of December. A friend recommended me.
Okay, it was a recommendation. Okay,
the friend is an auditor, and she was working together with the law firm. Okay. Or they were in the same office building or something like this. And anyway, so I received this request from the law firm. It's a legal tax from English into Hungarian, quite large. I can't remember exactly how many words, but it was, I don't know, 15,000 or something like this words. And I gave them a quote, and I was really thinking that I really don't need this work right now, because I'm already quite full. Okay. So I quoted what I would normally have quoted to a direct client abroad.
Great.
And I thought to myself, they are not going to pay this, but I gave them a professional reply. And I told them that I can do this for this X amount for the 2nd of January, actually 3rd of January, because I need to recover from the party on New Year's night.
Yeah.
And they said, accepted, but please deliver it before Christmas, and we are ready to pay you a surcharge. I said, okay. And then I added 40% more.
Wow, 40% the amount that you would charge
I said 40% more. They're not going to pay this, because it's way too expensive. It's like 5 times the local rate. And he said, yes, fine. Please deliver it until like 1 day before Christmas. And then there was no way out. I mean, I had to accept it, because they accepted even the highest price.
Right. That was a scale-up moment in your career?
I'm sorry?
That was the scale-up moment in your career, the first time that you were able to charge to achieve a financial goal, for example, as a translator?
I mentioned you. I mean, about 2 years after I started out. So that was about 2 years after.
Was the moment. Okay, that was the moment with the law firm. Sorry, with the law firm.
No, the law firm was just a few years ago.
Okay.
That was just an example to show that I do work for local clients, but only direct clients.
So the moment you did scale up was with a direct client. How did you find those clients?
No, actually, most of my translation career, I worked for agencies.
Okay.
Most of them, most of the time, and direct clients only a few times. But actually, those were large projects and well-paying projects. And
Okay,
direct clients I usually came by recommendation. Somebody recommended me.
Yeah, that's the most common answer I get. What is your most efficient marketing strategy to get clients? You mentioned the referrals.
Yes. Well, it wasn't really a strategy. They just happened to come in.
Yeah, but it is a strategy because it needs a lot of work behind of that in order to achieve the point that someone refer you to.
Actually, the largest translation job ever for me.
Okay.
And that happened to be for a direct client.
Okay.
And that's connected to me organizing conferences.
Oh,
because
okay. So they found you started organizing conferences.
Yes. So I did my very first conference for PROS International Conference. That was in 2007. And there was one particular attendee at that conference. And years passed, about 5 years passed. And she's a Russian girl living in Montenegro.
Okay.
And she had a client in Brazil. And the Brazilian client asked her if she knows anyone who does professional translations into Hungarian, and she recommended me because I was the only one she knew.
Okay.
And I started exchanging emails with this Brazilian client. With Brazil, I was not sure because normally I work for European or North American clients. So that was the first time in Brazil. And it turned out that they are reliable and they are going to pay me the rate that I was asking for. And it turned out to be 3 months just working for them. And it was, 150,000 words.
What client was that? Direct?
It was a direct client, yes.
Okay.
It was a direct client. It was 150,000 words. And I was really happy. It was not extremely difficult. It was quite interesting.
Okay.
It was the texts were beautifully laid out, and it was perfectly formatted, and it was just perfectly suitable for processing in my favorite cat tool, and everything was just perfect. And they paid on time. And when I finished,
we have good examples to share as well.
Yeah, and this was by referral from one of the attendees from my first.
Yeah, and if you can say the visibility of yours was the reason why you were referred. So visibility, attending conferences, and why not organizing local events and conferences is also a way of getting clients. And Csaba is a great result of that. So before we continue, our topic is since you mentioned that referrals are not a strategy. If you would like to have a strategy, or if you have any strategy, what is your preferred strategy to get clients?
I don't know, to keep them happy, keep happy the existing clients, and after a while word starts to get around.
And that is referrals as well, because the happy clients are going to refer you also to other clients as well. They come back.
Yeah, but it's not a strategy in a sense that I don't do it with the intention of getting new clients. I do it with the intention that if I'm working for someone, it should be perfect.
Yeah, there is also a client retention strategy.
It just happens to, it's just an attitude towards any kind of.
It was a topic of my speech at your conference, how turning happy clients into promoters.
I remember, yes.
And for me, it's a great strategy, even if we do not do it strategically to get new clients. By retaining happy, then the existing clients is a great strategy in the long term to get even more new clients, and why not having repeated work from the existing ones. So thank you for sharing that. To sum up, you mentioned already referrals as a strategy. You mentioned already keeping happy the existing ones. You mentioned as a way getting clients pros.com as a platform. And also you mentioned visibility, conference and events organizing, and the visibility you gain from attending or organizing those events. And now we're entering, before we close this event, and thank you so much, Csaba, for sharing your experience. So my question was about how you turned out from a freelance translator to organize translation events. You started explaining somehow. I know the story, but if you would like to share with other people, but they might not know yet the story behind that.
All right. So I just a few minutes ago, I talked about this large online large project that I did for a Brazilian client that lasted 3 months, and I remember that the deadline was at 4 p.m. on one June day, and I delivered the last bit about 15 minutes before the deadline, and the client confirmed receipt, whatever. And that was already in the times of Facebook. So I posted it on Facebook that I just delivered my largest ever job. And within 10 minutes, people started to comment, like translators whom I met on my first conference that I organized in Budapest in 2007. And those people started to comment that finally have time to organize a proper conference. And I was in such a very special mood and spirit that I said, okay, why not do it? And so I picked up the phone. I called the venue that's a hotel in Budapest, where the original one took place in 2007. And I called them that, listen, do you have this particular weekend available a year from now? And they said yes. Okay, can I reserve it? And tomorrow morning I'm going to see you in your office if that's okay with you, and then we can discuss the details. And the event manager was a bit surprised, but yes, we agreed. And this was still about 15 minutes after posting about completion of the project. And within the next 5 minutes, I purchased a domain name just to make sure that I would have a website, because I thought that if I do a conference, I would like to do it on my own. I wouldn't like to be associated with other companies. And that was it. And after 30 minutes after the original posting, I replied that, okay, you will have the conference next year, so a year later. And then that's what I did in the middle of June. I didn't do anything during the summer.
Okay.
I was sort of hoping that, no, this is not me, this is not going to take place. And I almost forgot about it. And in the last week of summer, in the last week of August, on one particular day, I received two messages. One on LinkedIn came from a translator in Lisbon, whom I never met.
Okay.
And she sent me this message that she heard about this conference that's going to take place in Budapest next May. And is it really going to happen? Because she just saw special airfares on the Portuguese airlines, and she has to buy it today or by tomorrow. I said, okay. And then within the same day, I received a message from the event organizer of the hotel venue. Is this event going to take place? Because we start receiving requests from other event organizers and tour groups. And I have told them, okay, can I have 24 hours of time? And the next day, I called back the event organizer at the hotel. Yes, we are going to have it. And I replied the Portuguese colleague that yes, we are going to have it. But that time I didn't know how to do it, because it was already 6 years after my only conference organizing activity, which actually was quite popular one. So
first one was the PROSWIN.
Yes, PROSWAM.
Okay.
PROSWAM. At that time, every year there was the PROSCOM conference, international conference in a different country, and I took part in two of them. there was one in Oxford, I think in 2002. I was there, and a couple of years later, there was one in Poland, and I was there too.
How they call it on pros?
Powwow? No, it was an actual conference.
It was an actual.
It was a conference in Krakow.
Okay.
And I met the Proscom guy, Henry Dotterer, the founder of Proscom, and he asked me if I want to organize one in Budapest. And it would be the international one. And I told him, yeah, I can do it, but not next year because we are expecting a baby, but the year after that. Okay. So that's how it turned out to be in 2007.
Okay.
And anyway, so fast forward to 2013. I was keen on doing my own conference. And even before the actual conference took place, I realized that if I call it BP conference, I mean, it's not too imaginative. I live in Budapest, and it's an BP conference because it would be here. But even before the first one took place, I realized that I want to move it around. I don't want to keep it in Budapest. I would like to take it in other cities, to other cities. So I had to come up with a solution how to resolve this conflict. If it's BP and it's in Budapest, that's okay. But how? What shall I do with BP?
You're very clear in the titles, yeah.
Established, and it turned out, yes, it will be business and practice, because that's exactly what I would like to focus on. Because I realized that in many translators, when they come out of the translator schools, they know everything about the linguistics. They know how to what equivalents are, linguistic equivalents are. They know everything about the trade. Not much. I mean, practically nothing about how to sell themselves on the market.
Exactly, and this is why we do this, and we ask you how you started out, what do you suggest, what is your advice to those people, if you would like to give any advice to translators that they're starting out, or they have a problem or a trouble right now getting clients. And since you've been there, you've done that, if there's any advice that you can share with those people, since you are such event organizer, business and practice, and this is the reason why you created such an event. If you have something to share with those people that they might watch the recording later or now.
Excuse me, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, because you mentioned that this is a business and practice, and you came up with this idea because there's a lack of knowledge out there. People, they do not get trained translators how to get established as professionals and business owners, but and this is the reason why you came up with this idea of business BP conference, business practice.
Yeah.
And I took this opportunity to ask you if there's any advice, since you are the organizer and you had this idea behind that conference, to share maybe an advice to those people that they're watching the replay, maybe later the recording, or even now the live. If there is any advice, if they're starting out now, translators, or if they're more established but they're having any trouble right now, we're living a crisis right now. So I assume not only starting out translators have a problem. If there's any
now
advice,
you're asking.
Yeah, if you would like something to share. Yeah, if you would like something to share in terms of business and practice and the actual meaning of the conference, if you would like something.
Okay, so now you are asking me to say a couple of sentences about what full conferences are talking about. So at BP conferences, there are 2 days or 3 days of advice from people who are in the trade, like you and many other colleagues. It's really hard to come up with a short answer.
Okay.
I think those who eventually remain successful translators are the ones who believe they can do it, and they are confident that they can do it. Not only the linguistic part, not only actually translating one sentence into another, but also realizing that this is a service that they are offering, and they should be seeing themselves as entrepreneurs, that they are providing a valuable service to the client. I think there's this enormous problems with many of the translators who end up at the lower paying level of the market, is that they see themselves as employees. with their employees with one, or like they're working for one particular client or maybe 2 or 3 clients, but they are not realizing the power. They are not realizing the value that they provide. And if you as a translator or any service provider, you're not realizing the value that you provide, you end up paying a small amount only. If you realize that what you sell is a service that the client, you help resolve, you help solve the client's needs. If the client needs to advertise a product on a foreign market, they are going to gain millions of dollars. So, and if you are providing the text necessary for a business manual or a product manual or an advertising slogan, these are all parts of the process that a particular service or product will be sold abroad.
Exactly.
And there's a huge need. I mean, the service that you provide is a valuable piece of that whole puzzle that the client needs to put together in order to be successful abroad. And if you realize that where your part is in this whole process, then you are able to get a higher rate than you would normally get.
And you understand the value that you provide also to those clients. And I have a great example to share about what, and we'll close here because we're reaching 1 hour live. I have a great example of a mentee of mine. She translates financial reports for NGOs based in Latin America. And when I asked her, because we do this exercise with the client's avatar, what is the pain relief and what is the difference with the value that you provide to those clients, she didn't know what was the value. And she told me provide native translation, certified translation, high quality translation to those company NGOs for their specific terminology, financial reports. And I told her, no, the actual reason why they ask your services is to submit those financial reports to the investors to get their money. So actually, through your services, those NGOs, they get the actual investments from the investors. So if a translator realizes that, and they do not just deliver a translation of high quality, which is, yes, that's the pain relief, actually the value is the bigger picture, what they can get through. As you said, the product, manual, or whatever is the translation. So we have to have a bigger idea of what do we provide to those people, and that is the value. They get the money from the investors. And for me, she just realized that she hadn't realized that. Okay, so thank you, Csaba. You mentioned some great tactics of how to deal with bad payment practices of our clients. You mentioned your best practices to get clients, and you mentioned also what is the value of organizing and attending such conferences. And you are a real example, and you got also a great job and a great client by organizing such events. So for those you missed the live, you can definitely watch the recording. And to sum up, you will find out about the new event that Csaba is organizing next week. It's the BP 30 Hours event on September 13th. It's a free event. You can register right now and attend live next Wednesday. It's also the BB conferences will take place in Spanish for the first time, and Csaba is still organizing that. So you will find everything at bbconference.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if you
BBconf, sorry.
bbconf.com. Everything is there. All the events that Csaba is still preparing is up to those. And if you want to find out the story behind of that, how Csaba, one of the most successful translation conference organizer, and how he turned from being a freelance translator to a conference organizer, totally recommend to go back and watch this recording, and some valuable information about how to deal with bad payments, how Csaba dealt with such occasions, and of course, what are the best practices that Csaba has implemented in his business in order to get those clients or even scale up his translation business over the years. So thank you so much, Csaba. That was, I wish I had more time, as always, with you to discuss. We could stay here, but people will get bored for us. But thank you so much. It was such I really enjoyed our talk, as always. I wish you success for next week and also the upcoming events. And I wish someday we'll be able to gather again together live and see each other at one of your conferences.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Virginia, for asking me on your show,
that was
on your
Pleasure.
series of talks with the translators. And if I'm not sure if people can ask any questions, but anyway, if the time is up.
They are writing now. Nice to see you both.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure seeing you both.
Yeah.
Hear you. Okay, that was so. No
Thank
questions.
you.
So they really enjoyed most probably your story and behind of that.
Okay. Efaristopoli. Thank you.
Parakalopoli. Thank you so much. So stay with me here, Csaba. I'm just switching off the live. And if you want to catch up with the recording in the Mentoring for Translators group and my YouTube channel and Facebook page, you will find it there. So bye-bye for now and see you next week.
Bye.